Hey there.
Me or the camera?
Welcome to the podcast. It's not all black and white.
My name is Cera. I'm black.
I'm Matthew. I'm white. This is the Interracial Couple Podcast, and welcome to this week's episode. Before we get going, because it's going to be a fun one, we just want to make sure that if you are listening, that you are also subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts. Whether that's iTunes, whether that's Stitcher, whether that's Overcast, Undercast, whatever it is, just make sure you subscribe. And anybody that you know who is also an interracial couple that might be interested, make sure you forward it along to them. We also have a YouTube channel where we put little snippets, little sort of fun moments that we pull out of the podcast and put it up there too. So YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Yep. Thanks in advance for the love.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and by the way, a 5-star rating really wouldn't hurt. If you like it and you actually believe that it's worth 5 stars, that's even better. And if it's like 4 stars, and you feel free to let us know what would it take, what would be that one little thing that we could do to get us over the hump from 4 stars to 5 stars, because we also always want to be doing the best that we can for you. So that the information we're providing, the entertainment we're providing, the laughs we're providing, the deep thoughts we're providing, that those are actually of value and bringing something good into your life. So make sure that, give us that 5-star rating. If you were thinking about a 4-star, just give us a 5-star and then let us know what we need to do to earn that 5-star rating. So this week, we are going to talk about the things that almost killed our relationship.
Yep, it's been 3.5 years, and those things have been a few.
We've had a few. Now, there's probably a lot more than we can't think of, and there are also some things that we thought of that, I don't know if that really almost killed our relationships, but certainly had the potential. And
yeah.
And the one thing that we just aren't going to say, though, is that it's like my face in the morning. That doesn't count as something that almost ruined our relationship. Nor can we say my resting bitch face when we're sitting across from each other in our office working. That doesn't count.
I know, I woke up with a pretty bad looking face this morning.
Mm-hmm. No, you don't wake up with a bad looking face.
Oh, that's so sweet of you.
Yeah, I know.
That's
me just putting a little weight on the other side of the balancing scale, just to make sure that for all these things that almost ruined our relationship, that I've got a few extra things on the other side to keep us in balance.
So cool. What's the first thing?
First thing is the most recent thing.
What's the most recent one?
That was me reading You're Lucky You're Funny by Phil Rosenthal while you were reading The Tattooist of Auschwitz. And we were reading those two books in bed in the evenings at the same time.
I know. I was so deep in the Holocaust.
And I was so deep in hilarity of Everybody Loves Raymond. And Phil Rosenthal's hysterical. So I was laughing while you were deep
crying.
in the Holocaust. Yeah.
I was deep in the Holocaust and crying. And I was just like, how are human beings capable of being so bad?
Yeah. And then I
and
must
here
have come
you are.
laughing.
You are laughing. And it was like, I was like, okay with
You're
it.
like, oh, Jews just got killed. Ha 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 ha. More Jews got killed. Ha 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 ha. Yeah.
Oh my God. It feels so wrong to be laughing at this. And actually, it's what happened. I just felt like it was so wrong to be reading that book where you were laughing. And I was like, Matthew, like, this is intense. Like, I am trying to really read this book and be thoughtful about what makes us as human to be this terrible to each other. Because I know in myself that I have the potential to be like those women who did that during the Holocaust. And you were just laughing.
Yeah, right. And so you must have kind of had this little bit of a feeling like I was laughing at torture and death and terrible treatment of other human beings.
Sometimes you can laugh at those things.
That's true, I do sometimes. Maybe that's actually the bigger problem, is that you were imagining the way I actually am, which is finding macabre things kind of funny, even though that's not funny.
Yeah, that was not. But yeah, I was really annoyed, and I almost left the bedroom. I was like, I'm gonna go read in the other room if you're not gonna stop laughing. And you could not stop laughing.
And there was at one point where I'm like, maybe if I don't laugh out loud, I just go, and I'm just like shaking, convulsing. It'll be like tears convulsing. And at one point you're like, stop. I'm like, no, like really. I even said, I'm crying actually. This is so sad. And I'm just like convulsing, shaking as though I was like, you know what? If you hold in a laugh and you convulse like that, it could be like crying. I convulse in a similar way when I'm crying. So that was my attempt to rescue our crumbling relationship over the juxtaposition or the interweaving of You're Lucky You're Funny and The Tattooist of Auschwitz.
Yeah, it's a really great book. I think everyone should read it.
So was You're Lucky You're Funny.
Just
also,
make sure that your partner is not, you guys are not reading those two books at the same time.
Yeah, I think that would probably help. Yeah, that's good relationship advice. Okay.
Yeah.
So a little piece of relationship advice: don't read the don't do what we did. Basically, it was, and then it was tough for me because I wanted to laugh. Like I love coming across like a really really funny book where you just laugh out loud from reading. It doesn't happen all the time. There are definitely books that you read and they're funny, but the ones that really make you laugh out loud are kind of few and far between. So it was also a little bit painful to be like, I have to stifle this laugh.
Luckily, The Tattooist is a very short book. I think I read it within 2 or 3 days.
So that's actually probably what's rescued our relationship. If it had been a 1,000-word novel, we wouldn't have survived.
No, if it had been Dune, this will be it.
Yeah. So that was one. That was definitely one of our recent ones.
The other one I remember was Packing for Burning Man.
Packing for Burning Man.
That was intense.
Now I wonder why was that so. I don't know why that was so bad. It was our first trip together.
It was our first trip, but going to Burning Man is not an easy joke. Like the packing is intense, and we were both working, I think.
So we also packed my car first, and then. But because I was going to teach you how to drive stick shift, I was like, let's take my car. I had like much older car. So I thought, and we know that going out to the playa it can ruin your car. The dust on the playa is really bad. It gets in everything. We thought, you know what? Rather than taking that car, let's just take my old crappy car rather than your nicer, newer car. And so but you don't know how to drive stick shift.
No.
And, I should know, I've taught enough people to drive stick shift that it's never an easy process. I think that's why there are driving schools, not like let your boyfriend or your husband teach you how to drive a stick shift. I don't think that usually works out very well.
Advice 101, do not let your boyfriend teach you how to drive anything.
Well, like, what else would you be learning what else would your boyfriend be teaching you how to drive?
I don't care.
No tractors?
Don't do it.
No lawnmowers. But the crazy thing is you actually did a really good job driving the stick shift. But you got around the block and you're like, I'm not doing this. I can't do this. And you're like slamming your fist. And I was like, because you stalled twice. And of course, when you're learning how to drive a stick shift, sometimes you'll rev the engine and it jerks and you throw your neck back, and other times you slam on the brakes too much. But you were freaking out. I just was like, no freaking out.
You were doing not freaking out, but I was like, at some point I was like, why am I doing this? It's like 2018. I have a nice car that it's automatic that drives. For me, driving is taking me from point A to point to be like, why am I I was like, I'm done. Like stick shift is not for me.
If we're not careful, this conversation about why stick shift is going to actually become the most recent thing that almost ruined our relationship.
Well, now I live in a country where I may need to drive a stick shift, and I feel like I will learn. Like I'm ready to learn how to drive a stick shift. But in the US, I had no reason whatsoever.
Except that you couldn't drive my car.
I didn't need to drive your car. I had my own car.
Yeah, but there were definitely
and my car was like really nice too.
Your car was definitely nicer than my car.
So
even though I like my little car, stick shift, pretty nice. But that was I think that was the beginning of it, and somehow whatever underlying stuff was left over from you trying to learn how to drive stick shift carried right over until we arrived in Nevada. Because that whole trip up from when we left until we arrived at the gate, which was about, what, a 9-hour drive? How much conversation did we have? Do you remember how much conversation we had?
Oh my God. We tried to like talk to each other, and every time we'd talk, like 5 minutes into it, we'd start arguing.
Did we get 5 minutes into any conversation?
I don't think so. Maybe 2.
Yeah. But we only tried a couple times because you brought a book with you and you basically just sat there and silently read a book and loudly flipped each page. Make sure that every time you flipped a page, it was a exclamation point on your infuriation with me.
I think I know why you were so annoyed with me. It's like I came half an hour late to the parking because I had like these new running shoes that I really wanted to get. And so I went to get the shoes at the mall and I came back and you were just like, those shoes could have waited. And I was like, no, they could not.
Yes, they could have actually. They definitely could have waited.
But it was so nice.
They have a 90-day return policy. It did not need to happen this week. And it's nice of you to exaggerate it down.
It was the first time you slammed the door at me.
Did I slam the door?
You did slam the door. Really hard. Like, you were so annoyed that you were just like, our bedroom door, I think I was like shouting at you or something. And you just were like, I'm done here.
Yeah.
Slam the door.
Yeah. I don't remember slamming the door, but I remember pounding my fist in the door jamb. I was pretty upset. But it's also nice of you to say it was a half an hour. It was
half an hour.
No, it wasn't. You drove from Northridge in traffic to Studio City and in traffic back from Studio City and returned those. Anybody who lives in LA knows that there's no way that happens in a half an hour.
It was all worth it because I still use those shoes.